everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County. I'm here joined with my guest, Amanda. Thank you so much for coming on and spending a few minutes. I met Amanda at the European Village market, and she just had an amazing setup. So I'll let her tell them a little bit on what you do. But Amanda, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day. I really appreciate it.
For having me. So we are a small little pop-up houseplant shop right now, hoping to be a brick and mortar soon. But we started out slow, so we're just at the farmers markets and little pop-up holiday markets and things like that right now.
That's great. And if I remember correctly, you're relatively new to the Flagler area. Is that correct? And like relatively?
Yeah, so we moved here almost 3 years ago. So the
Okay.
week before Christmas, it'll be 3 years.
Wow, that's awesome. And what brought you to Flagler? Because you're from Tennessee originally, correct?
Yes, Knoxville, Tennessee. We moved here for my partner's job. He's in sales. We moved down here with about a 3 week notice. So we just kind of packed our stuff and moved right on down.
That's awesome. How have you liked the difference between this Florida Flagler area versus Knoxville?
It's surprisingly, it's a lot less busier than Tennessee. It's still kind of the same southern friendly people that you meet, but it's a lot quieter, a lot less traffic, and it's also a lot warmer here.
That's true. We were just talking before we started here recording. Is like Amanda just came back from Tennessee, where it's like 15 degrees, and I know it's just like freezing up in Michigan where I'm from, and it's like us complaining about 55, 60-degree weather is nothing.
You move down here and we turn into wimps.
Right. I don't know, I think I'm still okay, but like because especially because it's usually sunny when it's cold down here, which I think is a huge bonus. It has been a little dreary recently, and that's my only complaint. It's less the cold and more so it's like just gray for a really long time. I was like, this is sunshine state. Yeah. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about your business, The Green Thumb, because it's pretty new. What inspired you to start it?
It is. So I started in June. During COVID, I bought my first house plant on clearance at a grocery store, and that kind of turned into having well over 100 house plants now. And it's like my niche thing that I just found out. Everybody has a thing, and that was
Right.
mine. So I had to turn it into a business to kind of educate other people in plants. So hopefully other people can have house plants because it isn't an easy thing. It's kind of overwhelming when you jump right into it. But once you figure it out and you get on a pattern, it's an addiction.
Yeah, I've heard that's happened to so many of my friends. They're like, yeah, I just got like this small little plant. And then I check back in a few months later and they're like, yeah, I have 30 now. I'm like, oh, great. Awesome. Good for you. That's awesome. So, what do you like to help people with specifically? Like, what do you help people with when it comes to their plants and otherwise?
Getting people on that schedule, people get overwhelmed and they think every plant needs to be watered every 2 days, or it's just they overcomplicate it. So I love educating people to get them to kind of just get that basic knowledge of plants and be able to spark that into something to where they can start getting more plants and more exotic plants, and it's great. It's fun.
Yeah, and you clearly have a very nice background with some plants for your testament to your green thumb. So I think they look gorgeous behind you. I definitely
It was too cold out the other night.
which happens, it happens. It was pretty cold. Um so I know that you've been here for about 3 years, which is kind of new to some people, but I think also for Flagler, there's just so many people migrating that, like, honestly, 3 years, it's like, oh wow, you're basically a veteran. You've been here your whole life. But the Green Thumb is relatively new, is what I remember. About 6 to 7 months ago is when you started it, correct? So
Yeah.
even then, do you still have any advice for anyone maybe looking to start their own business or maybe just get more integrated into the local community, either Flagler or maybe their local community? Anything that you would say?
I think it's just, you just have to start. I had always wanted to own my own plant shop, own my own plant business, but it's hard in this economy, especially if you're not born into generational wealth or things like that. You kind of have to start on your own. And I emailed the president of Flagler Strong on a Thursday night and asked her about possibly setting up at a farmer's market on Saturday. And she messaged me back that night and was like, yeah, you can start Saturday. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And that is literally how this whole thing started. Thursday night, I was out in my backyard going over my propagations, putting my plants together, pricing things. And then Saturday, I started. And I think I left that market with maybe 10 plants. I had taken
Wow.
over 5 and I had 10 left.
Wow.
Did great. And then that just kind of got the ball rolling. So it's really just, you just have to push yourself to start, because if you don't, there's always going to be an excuse. It's always going to get pushed back. So you just have to, you got to go for it. But
Yeah.
great community to start, because there's so many people that want to shop local. There's so many people from all around the US here. I've made many of friends, and I don't think any of the friends I've made are actually born in Florida. We've all migrated here.
Right.
And so I think Flagler is a great place to start a business.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Going with 75 and coming back with 10 is like a crazy number. I feel like that's one of the like those dream scenarios that obviously turned out very well for you. So that's awesome. Huge congrats to you. Um, that's great. So what maybe if someone had been thinking about getting into plants, but they don't know where to start because they feel like maybe the list is overwhelming, or there's so many YouTube videos out there, they don't know what the first one they should do. What would you recommend to like the babiest of plant parenthood?
Just get you a pothos and learn the ins and outs of it. It's an easy plant for lighting. It doesn't need a lot of light. You can just kind of stick it wherever. It's a great plant for you to get your feet wet. It's great to lead into propagation, learning about that. Or even a snake plant. Snake plants they're kind of just there. You can forget about them. But pothos is one of my number one sellers to get people into the plant world, because it's so easy to deal with.
Awesome. Okay. I'll definitely and I'll make sure if anyone's interested, I'll like put the word if you want to Google it in the description so people can like just copy and paste, because sometimes I'm so bad about that. Like when I watch things myself. But great. So what is the best way someone can contact you if they're interested in learning more about plants or your services or your help or anything like that?
We are on Facebook and Instagram, and I have it connected to my phone, so I can respond right away typically. I am a mom to a 5-year-old, so I have my hands busy with her, but I typically can respond pretty quick. We are on Instagram at thegreenthumbinc, and then Facebook is just the Green Thumb.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I put those links in the description as well so people can click on those a little easier. And I can definitely attest to Amanda's quickness. When we text, she's always very quick with her responses, which I think I'm slower than she is. So I apologize. Oh, true. You know what? That's so true, because my mom she has a Fitbit, but I know all of my friends that have Apple Watches, like they're so quick because they just see it immediately. I'm like, oh, maybe I should.
Ding. Oh, here we go.
There you go. You can never miss. You can never use the excuse I didn't see it. Well, Amanda, I really appreciate you coming on and spending a few minutes. I think you shared a lot of great advice for people who want to start their own businesses, for plants, etc., the whole 10 yards. Is there any last thing you'd kind of like to throw out there before we wrap it up?
Just shoot for the stars. Just go for it. We only got one life, so you might as well just go for it.
Might as well. I think that's a great ending note. It's a great ending note. I mean, who knows? You could message someone, go to a market that weekend, come and leave with only 10 plants out of 75. So I feel like that speaks for itself, for sure. Well, again, Amanda, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I will see you all next time. Bye.